senior leader in your organization, or have you just recently taken up a new role that has managerial expectation? Well, this episode is for you.
Mshauri careers, hanging with them now.
So why is workplace politics important, or why should you care about workplace politics if you are a senior leader or you are in a position of management?
That's a very good question, because often it's ignored. So why you should care is because these behaviors often affect how people perform. They prevent them from going an extra mile. They prevent them from reporting fraud. They create exits, mass exits, right?
Exactly. And above us being internal from a demotivation and productivity perspective, externally there are also some grave implications when it comes to that. People will not want to join your organization.
They just won't come.
Top talent. And so what happens is you're also barring yourself in that way. So myself and M have created a checklist for you as a senior manager or as top leadership, in which you can either mitigate or just try to reduce the level of workplace politics. And I think this should be interesting for you.
The first item on this checklist that Alice talked about is induction. And it's important for senior management, senior leadership to be really vested in how induction takes place.
Before we even start to discuss how induction is linked to workplace politics, let's talk about what induction actually is.
So what is it?
So this is a normalized process in which you are literally, what you're trying to do in essence is set up a new employee for success.
Yep.
And there's a series of tasks associated with it, and some of them are sort of administrative type items, like showing somebody where they can get stationery, the restroom, so on and so on.
Those first day things.
And then there's the second layer of it, and I think this is where we should concentrate a little bit more. And this is looking at sort of the organization structure, the who is who, the who makes decisions, and the who you should be accountable to. So if you're asked to do a task, who is it that you should prioritize these tasks? And I think sometimes this is not brought out clearly, and then starts to breed some political findings in the organization.
And as senior leadership, as management, you should really care about how this induction is done and be the ones to sit there and do it. Don't just leave it to HR to figure it out, as so often I see it's regarded as an HR thing, but it's actually not. The second thing as senior leadership you should do to curtail the spread of negative workplace politics is training of new managers. I oftentimes find organizations don't put in the time and effort to train someone new who's been given new responsibilities to look after people into such a role. They leave it to their own devices, and then you think, after all, they're really good at what they do, that's why we are promoting them, right? Wrong. Make sure that they receive some level of education on how to manage team dynamics, some introduction to psychology as well, so that they can be able to interpret whenever wars on power and authority and influence and resource allocations come up, and how to best handle them. Such training is important because it prevents negative behavior around workplace politics from manifesting. This new leader can identify team dynamics that are rather negative early and curtail them.
I'm particularly passionate about this next point. If you're going to preach water, then drink that water. You cannot be contradicting yourself. For example, you cannot be expecting your employees to be working overtime day on day on day. And when they look at you, you're out here living your best life on vacation. Because what tends to happen? People will be disgruntled. And when people are disgruntled, then you start to read these conversations in the hallway. People start joining coalitions, whispering and ganging up to get rid of you. So it's very important to say as you do and do as you say.
Another very important thing for you as a senior leader to do to curtail negative workplace politics from spreading is formalizing all communication on change. And this stops the spread of gossip and hearsay dead on its tracks.
Exactly. And you know, unfortunately, sometimes we find that people struggle to manage change. Let's take the example of a merger and acquisition.
Yes.
So you have a
The
merger
breeding ground
and
for
acquisition,
politics.
and so people are panicked. There's two of us. There are two finance managers. Who's going to
Yeah,
go?
who's
How's
going
going to go? How are they gonna pick who's going to go?
And all of us are eating popcorn on the side, just waiting for all the cannons to go off. Oh.
So if you don't sit there and communicate a plan on, listen, we understand that there will have to be some redundancies. This is how we are going to assess different competencies, and after that, this is what will happen, and this is the communication, and this is the plan thereafter. If you're made redundant, maybe there's an outplacement program. If you don't have that, guess what starts to happen? People start undercutting, gossiping,
Corridor News Network,
spreading rumors. I mean, it just becomes a really unhealthy
people
environment.
start spreading falsehoods about others, and because of the uncertainty, we love distracting ourselves with such talk. And remember, again, why should you care about this? Negative workplace politics prevents people from focusing on why the organization exists. People stop selling, people stop doing their work, people start doing very substandard, mediocre work and spending a lot of their time talking, contemplating, thinking, and they get really distracted.
A constant running theme when it comes to workplace politics is accountability. And we see this playing out in a majority of the points we take. So as senior leadership, what you need to do is create clear policies and procedures that drive for accountability.
Accountability manifests itself in different ways. So, for example, performance management. A very unpopular thing in any company that has this going on is when it comes to you committing to certain goals at the beginning of the year, and half year you haven't met them, and the policy of the organization doesn't quite specify that, hey, if it's half year, you haven't met your goals, you haven't done what you said you would do, these are the consequences. Either you're put on a performance improvement plan, or you meet the leaders and explain yourself. If this is not specified in black and white, it creates an opportunity for people to fill in the gaps and start speculating about what could happen to you if you don't perform well.
Above and beyond what Em has just said, one of the most politicized items is promotions.
Oh dear.
That time of the year can give you ulcers. People start falling sick. You start seeing a lot of, medical sick notes because of what? Lack of accountability. You've been having, these formal performance management sessions. Somebody has been consistently scoring above normal, and then it comes to promotions, and the guy who's just average
is the one who gets it. And there's no clear reason why.
No communication
as
why.
Leaders, leadership, these are the things we do that really distract staff, they distract employees a lot.
Or sometimes they're just using of the bell curve, where what happens is they say we can only promote 2 people, even though there's 3 people who are worthy of promotion. I think as a leader, you need to sit down, assess these issues and say, hey, if this is the performance management framework and 3 people have excelled and deserve it, then why not just promote the 3 people?
Or if you're not going to, again, communicate the reasons why formally, quickly, clearly to everybody. Don't leave it to the rumor mills to fill in the gaps. Again, policies, anything written in black and white, frameworks, guidelines, procedures, really prevent people from speculating. And these speculations, as Elle mentioned earlier, make people make rash decisions if they're not happy. We can't emphasize enough the importance of psychological support, and this is something we highly recommend senior leadership and management to advocate to be present in the company.
It's also important to be realistic. We cannot eliminate all workplace politics.
Yeah, you can't get rid of it.
And the checklists we've done are more mitigation measures or to sort of minimalize it. So if you start to note some of the workplace politics creeping in, then offer a platform for your employees to vent, to feel safe, and to try and diffuse some of these negative attitudes, negative feelings.
But as you said diffuse, my mind went to team building. Team building is always used like some silver bullet for curing everything that's wrong in the organization. At the end of the year, you throw money at it and hope everyone will be fine and people will mingle and bond. No. Long-term psychological support is really, really important, and it's not an HR problem. Again, dear leader, dear manager, this is your problem. It's not an HR problem. So be interested and make sure that such systems are in place, as Ella has said, to help people really cope on day-to-day as change is coming, suspicion is creeping in, and these mechanisms can help them come back to work a lot better to prevent negative spread of this workplace political rumors.
And as we started with, why should you care? And that's exactly how we're going to end. By providing support to your employees, it shows that you care.
Exactly.